Welcome to Why-Side Life and Legacy, the podcast all about protecting what matters and building what lasts. I'm Nakel Nikiema, founder of Why-Side Financial and Insurance Solutions. And today we're talking about something a lot of families avoid until life makes it unavoidable: life insurance. Because here's what I've noticed over and over again. Most families don't realize how financially exposed they are until a real moment hits. Not a spreadsheet moment, a real-life moment. The kind that changes the way you think, the way you breathe, the way you sleep. And the hard truth is, the world we're raising families in today is not the world our parents grew up in. Everything costs more, emergencies hit harder, and there's less room to recover when something goes wrong. So in this episode, I want to break down why life insurance matters more now than it ever has, what it actually does in real life, and how to think about coverage in a way that matches the responsibilities you're carrying. No fear tactics, just clarity. Let me start with a story that still sits with me. Not long ago, I met with a family who had just lost their main provider. He was 42 years old. He was working, planning, building, the kind of person most of us would describe as responsible. He had goals. He had a young family. He had every reason to believe he had time. But he didn't have life insurance. Not because he didn't love his family. Not because he didn't care. But because, like so many people, he thought, I'll handle it later. And when I sat with his wife, she said something that I'll never forget. She said, "We weren't irresponsible. We just didn't think it would happen to us." If you've ever thought that, you're not alone. Most unprotected families aren't reckless. They're busy. They're trying to keep up. They're doing school drop-offs, paying bills, juggling work schedules, trying to be good parents, good partners, good people. They're hoping tomorrow looks like today. But when tomorrow suddenly doesn't look like today, everything changes all at once. She wasn't only grieving. She was also staring straight at funeral costs, a mortgage, childcare, car payments, medical bills, and the reality that one income had just vanished. And as heavy as the bills were, what hit her even harder was the feeling of being unprepared. Like the ground disappeared under her feet at the exact moment she needed stability the most. That's why life insurance matters. Not because you're expecting tragedy. It matters because you love the people who would have to carry the weight if tragedy showed up anyway. So let's talk about the big question. Why does life insurance matter more today than ever? I want to break it down into a few real-world reasons, and as you listen, I want you to keep one simple thought in your mind. If I wasn't here tomorrow, what would my family have to handle on Monday? First reason, the cost of living is outpacing what most families can realistically save. Think about the basics: housing, groceries, utilities, healthcare, childcare, education, transportation. You don't need a luxury lifestyle for the monthly total to feel like a lot. And while costs have climbed, paychecks haven't always climbed at the same pace. So what happens? Families survive, but they don't always build a cushion. That means a lot of households are closer to the edge than they realize day to day. They may look fine on the outside. Bills are paid. Kids are fed. People are showing up. But the margin is thin. You've probably heard a version of this. Many Americans don't have enough savings to comfortably cover a $1,000 emergency. Now, I don't say that to shame anyone. I say it because it tells a story. If a $1,000 surprise can create panic, what happens when the surprise is a funeral plus ongoing monthly bills plus debt plus the sudden removal of an income? Life insurance is designed to step into that gap immediately. It creates stability at the exact time everything else feels unstable. Second reason, emergencies are more common than we want to admit. Nobody enjoys imagining worst-case scenarios. And I'm not here to push you into fear, but we do need to be honest. Accidents happen. Health events happen. Complications happen. Sometimes people leave for work and don't come home. Sometimes a diagnosis shows up out of nowhere. Sometimes life turns without warning. The goal isn't to live in anxiety. The goal is to live in reality with a plan. Life insurance is one of the clearest ways to say, if something happens to me, my family won't fall apart financially. That isn't negativity. That's love with a strategy behind it. Third reason, families today often carry more financial responsibility than previous generations did. Let's count the weight people are carrying. Higher mortgages, higher rent, and higher property costs. Car payments that feel normal because almost everyone has one. Student loans that can follow you for years, sometimes decades. Credit card balances that grow quietly. Childcare that can cost as much as a second housing payment. And on top of that, a lot of adults are supporting aging parents while raising children at the same time. So for many households, one income isn't just supporting one person. It's supporting a whole structure. And if that income disappears, it's not just sad. It's destabilizing. Life insurance doesn't replace a person. Nothing replaces a person. But it can protect the ecosystem of a family so the people who depend on you have room to grieve, time to heal, and space to rebuild without being crushed by financial pressure. Now I want to talk about a side of life insurance that doesn't get enough attention. The emotional impact of being protected versus being unprotected. When someone passes away without life insurance, grief doesn't arrive alone. It shows up with stress, fear, confusion, sometimes guilt, sometimes anger, and decisions have to be made fast in the middle of heartbreak. Bills don't pause. The rent or mortgage doesn't say, "Take a few months and then get back to us." Life keeps charging forward even while your world feels like it stopped. That combination can create a kind of trauma that lingers. Not just sadness, but ongoing panic. A feeling of chasing stability while carrying loss. But when life insurance is in place, the emotional experience can be different. It's still devastating to lose someone, but the financial pressure doesn't have to pile on top of the pain. I've heard families say things like, "He took care of us," or "She planned ahead," or "We're heartbroken, but we're not lost." And sometimes the simplest phrase says the most. We can breathe. Life insurance is one of the rare financial tools that doesn't only provide money, provides peace. It's a way of saying, even if I'm not here physically, I'm still showing up for you. That's what legacy looks like in real life. So what does life insurance actually do practically? Let's make this plain and concrete because I want you to be able to explain it to someone else, not just nod along while listening. Number one, it replaces income. If your paycheck disappears, your family still needs the basics. They still need a home, food, utilities, gas, insurance, childcare, the ability to keep the rhythm of life moving. Life insurance creates immediate funds that can replace years of income and prevent a fast slide into crisis. And when I say replace years of income, I'm not saying your family has to become wealthy. I'm talking about time. Time to figure out the next steps. Time to avoid panic decisions. Time to grieve without immediately being forced into financial survival mode. Number two, it protects against debt pressure. Many families have debt. A mortgage, car loans, credit cards, student loans, personal loans, medical bills. And when a provider dies, those obligations don't disappear just because the family is hurting. Life insurance can prevent debt from becoming the second tragedy after the first one. It can keep your spouse or your family from having to sell assets quickly, drain retirement accounts, or make decisions they wouldn't make if they had breathing room. Number three, it covers funeral and final expenses. Funerals are expensive, and even when families try to keep things simple, the costs can add up fast. Several $1,000s can turn into $10,000 or more depending on the choices and where you live. Most families don't have that kind of cash sitting around, especially not in a way that's accessible immediately during an emotional emergency. Life insurance can cover those expenses quickly so loved ones aren't forced into fundraising, high-interest credit, or financial scrambling at the worst possible time. Number four, it can build a legacy. This is where many people underestimate life insurance, because it's not only about protecting against loss. It can also become a bridge to opportunity. That benefit can help a family pay for college, pay off a home so the kids can stay rooted, fund a move that creates a fresh start, or even create long-term stability that changes the direction of a family's future. And when people say, "I want to leave something behind," that's one of the cleanest ways to do it. It's immediate, it's intentional, it's designed for that moment. Now, at this point, a question usually comes up. Sometimes it's asked out loud, sometimes it's the thought sitting in the back of your mind. Okay, so how much coverage do I actually need? And here's the honest answer. Most people guess too low, sometimes way too low, not because they're careless, but because they only think about one piece of the picture. They'll think about funeral costs, for example, but not income replacement. Or they'll think about the mortgage, but not childcare. Or they'll think about a number that feels big, but they won't connect it to how many years their family might need support. So let me give you a simple starting point. Not a perfect formula for everyone, but a useful way to get grounded in reality. Take your annual income and multiply it by about 10 years. Then add major debts and future goals. For example, let's say you earn $60,000 a year. 10 years of income is $600,000. Then we add a mortgage, maybe $200,000. Now we're at $800,000. Then let's add another $50,000 for future goals, like education support or a cushion so your spouse can make choices instead of reacting in panic. Now you're around $850,000. Does that mean everyone needs $850,000? No. Your numbers depend on your household, your income, your debts, your savings, and your goals. And it also doesn't mean you have to handle it all with one massive policy. Some people layer coverage. Some people use different types of policies to match different needs. The point is this: run real numbers, not guesses, so your plan matches the life your family is actually living. Now let's clear up a few myths that stop people from getting protected. Because these myths sound reasonable until you put them under a bright light. Myth number 1. Life insurance is too expensive. Many people overestimate the cost by a lot. And I mean a lot. Depending on your age, your health, and the type of policy, coverage can be far more affordable than people assume. Sometimes it's comparable to small, everyday spending habits that don't feel like a big deal because they're spread out over time. Now, I'm not promising one price for everyone, but I am saying it's worth getting an actual quote based on real information, not a guess based on rumors. Myth number 2. I'm young. I can wait. Being young is often the best time to get coverage, because it's typically easier to qualify and less expensive. Waiting can cost you more later, and sometimes waiting brings a bigger problem. You may find out you're no longer eligible for the kind of coverage you wanted because health can change without warning. So, I'll do it later can quietly turn into, I can't do it now. And that's not a position you want to be in. Myth number 3. I have life insurance through my job, so I'm covered. Employer coverage can absolutely be helpful, but it's usually limited, and it's not truly portable. If you change jobs, get laid off, or your company changes benefits, that coverage can disappear at the exact moment you're most vulnerable. Personal coverage gives you control. It stays with you. It moves when you move. And it can be designed to match your actual needs instead of whatever default options your workplace happened to choose. Myth number 4. I don't have dependents, so I don't need life insurance. Even without kids or a spouse, life insurance can still matter. It can cover final expenses so your family isn't forced to figure it out. It can pay off debts so they don't fall on a parent or a sibling. And it can leave a meaningful gift to a person, a charity, or a cause that matters to you. Now let's get practical. I want to leave you with a takeaway you can actually act on, not just think about for a day and then forget. If you do one thing after this episode, do this. Find out how much coverage you actually need based on your real life. Your real responsibilities. Your real goals. Not a random number you saw online. Not a guess that feels safe. A personalized estimate that takes into account income, debt, savings, the age of your kids, your spouse's ability to work if something happened, and the life you're trying to protect. Because clarity doesn't just help you buy a policy. Clarity changes how you think. It replaces vague fear with a plan. And it replaces uncertainty with peace. Here are a few questions you can ask yourself today, even before you talk to anyone. If I was gone tomorrow, how long could my family pay the bills with what we have right now? What debts would immediately become a burden for someone else? Would my spouse or my family have to move quickly, sell the home, or change the kids' schools just to survive financially? Who would take care of my children, and would there be money to support that plan? Would my loved ones be able to grieve without also being forced into financial crisis mode? If those questions feel uncomfortable, that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're facing reality. And facing reality is what responsible leadership looks like. If you want help getting clear on your options, you can visit wisesidefinancial.com or message me directly. My job is to help you make wise decisions for the people you love, without pressure and without confusion. Thanks for spending this time with me today on Wiseside Life and Legacy. And remember this, protecting your future often starts with one wise decision. Stay clear, stay covered, and stay committed to what matters most.